Hey there. Solo play doesn't need to be complicated. You can do it with the most bare bones systems and some inspiration to get you by and have an incredible session. Today I'm going to be playing with Kismet, the most bare bones system in the world. I think this is a beautiful way to learn how to play role-playing games and how to learn to break away from needing a bunch of structure to guide your play. So how the game works is you have a d20, and whenever you roll the d20, you get what is called a Kismet score. So here my Kismet score is 6. Or is that a 9? That is a 9. So if you roll, now if I want to roll another check, I roll again, and I compare what I rolled versus my previous Kismet score. So my previous score was a 9. I rolled a 15. That's a success. Now if I roll again, I rolled a 4. That is compared versus my 15, which will give me a failure. So in this way, the rolls that you're doing set future target numbers for you and creates the ebb and flow of a standard gameplay session, that you succeed, and as you succeed you begin to fail again, and then as you fail you begin to succeed again. It's such a time saver to not have to worry about setting target numbers when you're playing your game. This is an excellent way to play solo. And Kismet has description of different, kinds of situations you can enter into. For example, combat. If you roll over, you deal damage. If you roll under, they deal damage. What does damage mean? That's up to you. If you roll equal, then you can kind of double down on the intensity of the situation. If you roll a 20, you get a critical. Maybe that's an instant kill of an enemy. If you roll a 1, they get damage on you. And maybe that puts you into a really desperate situation. You can also use this as a general oracle, and this even includes advancement. At the end of your session, you can roll using your Kismet score and create bonuses for your character, or potentially, have an upsetting experience, or even my character might just not be able to continue on. In a 1 in 20 chance, it's the end of the campaign, and time to decide, well, like, why has the character ended everything. Death rolls are also done this way, using the Kismet score. And so that's the basic game. And then with the expansion, it gives you a lot of ways to kind of modify this play. So I'm going to do a couple of these modifications myself. Number one is that my characters are going to have tags. These tags help define the character concept, and whenever an action happens that includes a tag, I will get advantage on that roll. So I'll roll the die multiple times and compare the highest one to my Kismet score. Additionally, whenever I take a wound, I think it's defined here as what do hit points mean. Obviously, pure Kismet, you don't have hit points. You just kind of do it all narratively. But if you were doing it with one of the options here is that whenever you take damage in combat, you get a wound, which is you can just qualify as another tag on your character. And what I will do is that my wounds will accumulate on my character. If I ever have to do a death check, each wound that I have is a disadvantage on my death check. And again, if you get a 1 on your death check, I believe you will die. Let me see. Yep. So if you fail a death check, you can kind of get scars building up. If you get a 1 on your death check, you die. So then each wound that you accumulate gives you more disadvantage on the roll, so more and more chance that you can roll a 1. Additionally, if you get 5 wounds, then you automatically start doing death checks each time you get another wound. So that way, death checks normally happen if you have critical fail in combat. But now I'm, adding on that if you're also extremely wounded, then every additional wound is kind of treated like a critical failure. So that's Kismet. What else do you need to do a solo roleplay session? Having a set of tables is, I think, the other major critical piece you need in addition to rules. And I didn't say having a yes-no oracle. I think this is a hot take. I think yes-no oracles are extremely overrated. They do not give you a ton of information, and ultimately, in the spirit of games like Apocalypse World, you should be yes-anding. You shouldn't be using no's to stop an adventure or stop something interesting from happening. Where yes-no oracles are interesting is when they have another mechanic built on top of them that lets you dive deeper into the gameplay. So if you have a yes-no oracle, for example, Mythic is great about this. You use the yes-no oracle to give tiny bits of data, but the yes-no oracle can create a random event or can make you do a check against your threads. And in that way, the yes-no oracle is really just a ticker that continues doing these more important checks versus your threads tables versus the actual important story elements that are happening. It's not just yes, no, is there something in this room? Yes, no, am I fighting a monster here? Those checks, you can use them, but really you got to think of that. Yes, no's are fine tuning. The real meat that you get when you're solo role playing is it should be in tables. It should be in meaning tables. Again, another thing that Mythic does and Random Realities is basically just an entire book of all meaning tables and random words for inspiration. But this is the muscle of solo role play, is using tables to get inspiration for moving a story forward, and just kind of creating connections between disparate words and then using that to create the story that emerges out of the gameplay. So I think Random Realities is great. You can just flip to a page and then you have a ton of different inspiration tables available on each page. It's the same table, same tables, but then these are just different results. So this formulation just makes it so you don't have to decide what table I'm using before you roll it. You just flip to a page and you're like, all right, yeah, I'll use the word guidance, and then I'll use luminous glow and prehensile tail, and that's my my splinter character that's going to be giving me some mentorship. I think that's an invaluable resource, and but any inspiration table I think is great. Solo doesn't have to be just doing narrative sort of adventures. You can even do dungeon crawls with a very light setup. So that's where Dungeon Divinations comes in. And this is a book by Max Moon Games, and this is a gorgeous, if I needed a Bible, maybe I use something like this. I think this is what I would like to keep in my bedside table. It is a gorgeous treatise on how to use tarot cards to create a dungeon or a hex crawl, and doing a reading of tarot to determine the different rooms or hexes and the connections between those hexes. So what's really cool about this is that you don't actually need this to play, but just once you have the concept of using something like tarot for dungeon generation, it opens up a ton of variability that you can do very quickly. You can just deploy without needing to do a bunch of, looking through a bunch of tables, doing a bunch of, room sizing and, trying to grind out connections by looking through a ton of meaning tables. You can just do it with tarot. In fact, I know Manalone's new system uses tarot for, I believe Flint uses tarot for, creating story elements. So it's tarot is honestly just a fantastic way to get a ton of data in a single unit. So like a single tarot card or a few cards gives you a ton of cross-referencing data that you can use to energize your sessions. So tarot is more advanced because you got to read If you have experience reading, that gives you a leg up using tarot. But the main concept is that you can play solo with very light systems. You don't need a ton of stuff. Again, Kismet, I don't need to reference this book. I don't need to reference the Dungeon Tarot, the Dungeon Divinations Guide, Random Realities. I can keep on hand. I can just play with a D20. Like, that's awesome. Like, oh, you don't need anything else. You can make awesome stuff happen. Well, maybe one thing, you can try adding some generative music. I think music is a great way to boost any solo role-playing session. And of course, I have these synthesizers, so I'm going to use them because they're so freaking sweet. And just a little bit about them. So the Midicake ARP is an arpeggiator that can create 4 different arpeggiations. That's feeding into the Roland SH-4D, which is a multi-timbral synth. So it's basically taking the 4 inputs here and applying them to 4 different sounds here to create generative sounds. And then the Torso T1 randomizes the notes that the Midicake ARP is generating. So basically we're generating random arpeggiations. There's a better word for that. Then that's going into Roland, and then Roland is creating generative music. That's really fucking cool. Yeah, let's get started on playing. So let me grab a piece of paper here. So for Kismet, let's generate our tags for our character. And I'm also going to be using this Tarot of the Gnomes tarot deck. I found this on a recent vacation down to St. Augustine, and these are just absolutely gorgeous, awesome rustic fantasy vibe tarot cards. I know, some people really like using a classic Rider tarot deck, but whatever, man, have fun, do cool stuff. I think this is an awesome deck. The titles or the words in the cards are in Italian, I believe, but there's translations of the card names at the bottom, and of course they follow the standard tarot major and minor arcana classifications. So I'm just gonna generate, let's like 3 to 5 tags, and I can just do it. Should we do a tarot? Yeah, let's do it with tarot. I think that'd be fun. Okay. Musician. Okay. Let's go with longsword. Interesting. Let's go stealthy. And I'm getting royal bodyguard. Let's see, maybe something like veteran of combat. Let's just do royal bodyguard. All right, and one more. Disagreement. Okay. Ill-tempered. Cool. So it seems like our hero is of a knightly order, and he's a real hothead, but is also an excellent knight, chivalrous, and kind of a Renaissance man too. Knows how to play a mean lute, and is probably quite the ladies' man. So let's get this guy onto a quest. So, using Dungeon Divinations, you first take out 3 cards, and these define the storyline around your dungeon. So, idealism, okay, perfect. And then we have the 7 of coins and the 8 of wands. Okay. Our hero has been given the quest to fight an ancient dragon that slumbers deep within a cave. Either fight or steal a piece of treasure from that cave. A very standard Arthurian quest. The knight is coming by himself, and he has reason to believe that another member of his knightly order may be laying a trap for him inside the cave. As he reaches the cave site, it's extremely rainy, and he and his horse tumble into the mud at the side of the cave. And as soon as he reaches there and falls into the mud, he looks up and he sees a huge troll right in front of him, and we will get to combat. First, let me roll my initial Kismet number. Okay, 20. 20 is a really bad initial Kismet number, because obviously this guy's, very lucky throughout his life, but if you have a 20, that's now going to be my target number to hit this troll. And we rolled a 5. We're going to take a wound from the troll, as the troll will stomp on our hero, the knight, and we're going to get a crushed rib. Okay, let's get to combat. We're going to use our longsword, and now since we're going to be using a tag, we're going to be rolling with advantage. Now our Kismet number is 5, so we're going to roll twice against the 5. Okay, we rolled a 5 and a 2. Okay, so as we both pulled up our longsword, our knight stepped up out of the mud and got into a kneeling position as the troll tried to stomp again, and used his sword and braced against the impact of the troll's foot and stopped it from stomping on him. And in a big, flex and show force, he's able to push the troll away from him and stand up to the ground. His horse is still neighing and, covered in mud and unable to get its footing. Okay, we'll start with the Kismet of 2. A 2 is great. So we rolled a 5 and a 2. The 5 with advantage is going to match our initial Kismet of 5. Now 2 is our Kismet. Let's roll, and let's... another rule I'm playing by with Kismet is I can't use the same tag multiple times. So let's use the ill-tempered tag. We're going to get really upset, and our character will attempt to leap onto the troll's arm. 5 and 11. So we're able to leap onto the troll's arm and grab a dagger and stab it into the side of the troll's neck. The troll is now flailing wildly, but we've dealt some good damage to it. Let's fight again. The troll's now swatting at us, trying to get us off its back. We're going to use our longsword. 3 and a 1. So we rolled a 3 with advantage. We're going to take another point of damage. The troll grabs us and punches our knight in the head. So, poor guy has a concussion already. All right. Let's see what we can do here. So we've used the long sword. Let's get. Well, we get angry again, and now I think we're gonna spit at the troll on the troll's face. So 8 and a 3. Okay, we spit in the troll's eye and he drops us. Okay, can we finish this fight? So the troll's taking some damage. I think the troll should take at least another big hit from us to end the fight. So let's grab our longsword again. And 7 and 6. Okay, our Kismet was 3, so we're able to grab our sword and cut it right across the troll's abdomen, and he falls to the ground. Our first assailant, our first opponent defeated. It's still pouring rain, and now we're covered in troll guts. But, you know, we noticed something interesting. The troll seems to have some... his attire looks different than the normal trolls you've seen. He's not just in a loincloth. It looks maybe a little fancy. Maybe, you know, we have that. We're feeling a little paranoid about another one of our knightly brothers trying to sabotage us. But, you know, this troll probably maybe works for some sort of bandit. It's just, it would be strange to be at the mouth of this cave, this haunted, dangerous place that no one dares to explore in. But okay, now we're entering into the cave, and we're gonna start building our dungeon. So to start building the dungeon, we'll take our first card, and I'm gonna play that inverted, the Force. So this is the One of Swords inverted. So as we enter the cave, rocks begin to slide from all of the rain, and this mudslide threatens to close the cave door. So we're going to attempt to leap into the crevice. I don't think we have anything that really applies here, so I'll just roll against the 6, and we got an 8. Okay, we're able to dive into the cave mouth as the mud slides over the cave mouth, and we are unfortunately a little trapped. We light a torch, and our horse is outside too, so hopefully he can be safe, but we're gonna have to figure out a way out of this place later. Let's continue on deeper into the cave. Okay. The Emperor. Wow. As we enter the cave, we all of a sudden see 3 armed knights that approach us, and they're yelling at each other. They weren't expecting there to be a cave in, and now they're trapped with you, but they point at you, and you recognize them as your brothers in the knightly order, and they've come here to sabotage you, but now you're trapped in with them, and guess what? You're really fucking pissed too. All right. As they're disoriented by the cave-in and by your defeat of the troll, you immediately charge at one of them, and I'm going to use ill-tempered here as my tag. Okay, 8 and 12. We run through one of the knights and get in right underneath his chest plate, and he falls over and is bleeding out. Another knight attacks us, so we're going to use our longsword. 4 and a 7. That doesn't beat it. This knight is able to cut us. So we're gonna take a wound. I think on the collarbone. Yeah, we're taking some damage, but that's all right. Let's continue with our training as a royal bodyguard. We know their moves, and so we're able to predict the next swing that's coming in as the 2 knights are working in sync, but since you're able to anticipate their next move. So let's try to beat a 7, a 20, and a 7. The 20 takes it. We are able to time the strike from the second knight, and so we dodge it and then come around behind the back of his head and get under his helmet and decapitate him. His head hits the side of the cave, and now it's just you and a single knight. The remaining knight, of course, is the most well-decorated one in a great green tabard and the pelt of a wolf around his neck. He chortles under his breath and says, I guess I shouldn't have expected any less from you, you motherfucking bastard. But I'm gonna end you here right now. Okay? Let's grab our longsword and attempt to beat this guy. 3 and a 7. We clash in an epic confrontation. The two of us now, in the cave, trying to find our footing in very dim light. There were some torches that they had lit, but it's flickering as we're kind of clashing swords against each other and dancing in that dim lighting. You notice that his movements are a little clumsier than expected. I think the whole situation is kind of taking him off guard. So he's wasn't expecting you to be able to he definitely wasn't expecting to be trapped in here with you, and I think you could be able to take advantage of this momentary defenselessness from him. So let's use our ill-tempered, and we're going to try to have a heaving blow crush him. 15 and a 20. Our opponent stumbles back a little bit as we bring our longsword to bear right on his chest and knock him down. He's struggling to get up, but our blade and our anger combined make us an immobile object, and we bear down on him, and once he's in a prone position, we knock away his sword and then start bearing down with our sword in almost like hammering into his body, and our knight is able to emerge victorious with a battered knightly brother underneath him. Okay, we've bested the knights in the tunnel. Where to next? Okay. Career. So as we emerge out of the tunnel, we're going to hit something that's going to make us have to make a chivalric choice. Something about morals? Maybe there's a fourth member of the knighthood, or a squire. The squire of the Green Knight that we fought earlier is in a makeshift tent that they had erected inside this cave, and he starts stammering, and he heard the commotion, but now all of a sudden realizes that his knight has been completely bested. Will our character do the right thing and spare this guy's life? We'll use Royal Bodyguard as our tag, but this is going to be really tough because we rolled a 20 on our Kismet previously. So we basically need to roll another 20 to try to keep this guy alive. 16, close, come on, and a 4. Unfortunately, our knight is not having it, and while he does have some initial hesitance, he decapitates the squire, and amongst his body, he searches around and is able to find a map of the cavern. And right now we've been on kind of the base level, but he can see that there are some tunnels that extend further down. This cave was probably in use by some other civilization long ago, and there were some stone-hewn steps that descend deeper towards our target, the dragon. Let's draw another card. Okay. 6 coin inverted treasure. Interesting. I'm going to draw 2 cards here. I think there's going to be a fork in our path. In good fortune. So, which direction are we going to take? So we can see that there is what appears to be a treasure room. But not the treasure room we're seeking. This maybe is a stash of some bandits. Maybe that troll was of a bandit group, and they had posted up here before the knights came. So there's this treasure room, and then there's also a further descent into the cave. I think we're gonna take the deeper descent into the cave. We know this goes further because when we looted the squire, we have his map, and this direction is going to get us closer to the dragon. Let's try descending. It's a very precipitous drop at certain points, as the stone-hewn stairs are not completely maintained over the thousands of years that they've been here, so there's been a lot of erosion. Let's see if we can make it down. So we have a Kismet of 4. 14. So with slow tempered movements as we maneuver around our crushed ribs and our broken collarbone, we slowly descend deeper into the cavern. We still have the problem of trying to get out of here, but maybe we can make it to this monster. We've drawn the card of power. I think this signifies that we've made it to an antechamber, but we can hear the sounds of a slumbering dragon beyond the massive dwarven doors that are at the end of this antechamber. We're going to try to enter the dragon's hideout, and we're going to use stealthy to do it. 5 and 7. That's not enough. As we enter into the chamber, the dragon lets out an expectant, guttural growl as it knows that we are approaching and seems to know why we are there. The dragon is going to... Let's see what the dragon... Let's bring up random realities real quick. Let's describe what this dragon is. Graceful. He's undead. Okay. The dragon has a corrosive saliva and interesting. It can stretch its tongue out, or its entire neck, so it kind of can whip back and forth, and is very agile for its advanced undead age. Okay, that seems really bad. I think the dragon's going to come and lash out at us right away with its head. We're going to use our royal bodyguard, so our training, to be able to react to the dragon whipping its head at us as we enter the room. 5, 15. Okay, using our armor and our shoulder pad, we're able to knock the dragon's head before it's able to get a bite at us. The head is retracting back and forth at rapid speed as it's trying to bite us, but we're able to dart in through the door and into the dragon's horde. Let's try using stealthy and try to grab a piece of treasure from the horde. 14, come on, baby. Let's go. And 10. We are unable to grab some treasure, and the dragon is able to get a bite on us. We get a bite on our arm, and our knight screams out in pain. Is our knight going to continue trying to get some treasure? I think so. I think we're going to continue. And we're not using anything. So 19, we're able to eye an ancient helmet, an ancient crown in the horde with gleaming gemstones that seems to sparkle even in the darkness of this cave, sparkles with great luminosity. We grab the crown and we just put it on our heads and begin to run. We're going to try to run out. We're no longer able to use stealthy because we're glowing brightly, but let's try to use our longsword to try to defend against the dragon. Fortunately, we have a 19, so our Kismet's really bad right now. Let's see. Oh, and that's a 20. Oh, yeah. Okay. We are able to jump over the dragon's head as it bites at us, and the undead dragon lets out a lethal acidic spray, but we dive under it as well, and the spray actually creates a hole in the door, and we're able to run through the doorway and sprint back up the stairs. We know the way out. We studied the map on the way down, and we are climbing through really rough terrain right now, but with our 20, as if with some sort of magical power, the crown on our head makes us feel lighter than we should. We are able to leap over the gaps in the stairs as we climb back on up through the cave, and we make it out to the front. Now there's still one big problem. We have this landslide that's caved in our entrance. Is there another path out? I think so. I think we know that there's another path out, so we start moving towards it. Okay. The King of Coins, Foresight. Using the map that we had read before, we're able to think more clearly with this crown on our heads too. We can see that there was ancient dwarven masonry that created a ventilation system up out of the cave, and stopping at a certain point in the cavern, we take our longsword and we start bashing into a thin part of the cavern wall and are able to expose this open air shaft. So we climb into the shaft, and there are ancient handholds used by dwarven artificers climbing up and down the shaft. We get into the shaft, and of course the dragon's trying to bear down on us, but we slip in at the last moment and climb up. We make it to the top and end up in some sort of graveyard, some ancient these are unmarked stones at this point, but this landing and this old ancient barrow has a small previously unknown exit from this airway. We exit, and it's still raining heavily, but we whistle and are able to alert our horse that we're there, and jumping on the horse, we ride back with our crown and with the knowledge of some friends who have betrayed us. But we have made it back in some sort of peace. Let's see if we have any advancement at the end of this journey. It's kind of tough. We rolled a 20. 11. we are filled with a bitter taste in our mouth as we fought and have completed our quest, but are unsure if we can continue forward as a knight after this patricide. It's this death of our brothers. We might need to reassess where our loyalties lie. And I'll call it a session with that. I hope this was a helpful examination of how to quickly play a game of solo. I love playing with simple tools that you can add on to. I think this is an excellent way to play. I hope you give it a try, and let me know in the comments if you guys like using tarot, if you've used Kismet. I'm crazy about this system. I think it is absolutely perfect. Cesar Chapakla, who also makes Random Realities, is an amazing designer, and all the credit to him on creating something that's really lightweight and really exciting to play with. I'll catch you all later. Thanks.